Dan Azeez is a big, powerful boy.
Look, Dan Azeez is...
And I'm interested to see what this fight looks like, especially given... I want to know when the spar happened between Dan and Matthew.
Yeah.
And
we'll ask Dan when we get him on.
We'll ask him. We're going to get him on. And we're going to ask. Richard had made comments about him on Sky, I think it was, a few years ago, with Spencer Fearon. So there was a bit of needle. They've sparred. Like, there is a story there.
The names that he listed for Kell Brook are... Like,
Dan is scary
I'm coming
for
back
that.
to prove my...
Dan is scary for that.
It's probably something in his head that he's like...
Who would you fight if you were AJ? And does it depend on if you think you fight Usyk at all? Mouthpiece, the home of unfiltered boxing. This episode is brought to you by Boxing Boys. Boxing Boys is a 3D animated NFT collection made up of 5,005 unique boxing characters, combining the real world of boxing with the digital revolution through a play-to-earn game. Each Boxing Boy has its own unique skill set, and upon collection becomes a playable character. Right. A big week ahead again. Well, I suppose it's next week.
Yeah.
But it's approaching.
We got to see them in action slightly though. We had the open, the whatever you want to call it, the media workouts this week.
Yeah.
Good to see the fighters in action. Was there anyone?
I got there late, obviously.
Right.
Because I just got off a flight and rushed there.
Yeah.
So I only saw Deion Jumah.
Right.
And Richard Riakporhe.
Okay.
Richard, it was intriguing.
Yeah.
Because he went southpaw.
I think he was trying to play on the mind games quite a lot there. He A, didn't hit pads.
Yeah. And
B, anything he did do was in a
What's
southpaw
hilarious
stance.
Is he didn't hit pads, but there were pads on.
Yeah.
On the pad man.
Yeah.
But I think, look, like, it's a late opponent. They know plenty about each other. There is a
well, we haven't even really broke the news as such on here at least.
Yeah. Well, the world knows.
Well, the world knows.
If
but
you don't, Richard Riakporhe was supposed to be fighting Turchi, who's pulled up with an injury.
Yep.
Deion Jumah was supposed to be fighting Mikael Lawal,
correct,
who's pulled up with COVID, and because they're both cruiserweights, it made perfect sense for them to fight each other.
Yep.
Now, in my opinion, it's a much better fight.
It's now a huge domestic fight. I mean, especially coming off the back of February where we had 3 huge domestic fights. We've now got like a really, really big one that's literally come out of nowhere. So, like, props to both guys for taking it. Props to Riakporhe.
Riakporhe, as soon as it got announced, I messaged him straight away and I was just like, I rate you big time for taking this fight. Because it's a risk that, in most people's eyes, you don't have to take. Because it's not like Deion is mandatory for anything that Riakporhe has. It was just timing.
Yeah.
It was just the timing of it. It's not like them two were on a collision course in the next couple of months. It might have happened down the line, but it wasn't supposed to happen on March 26th. So I personally wasn't sure that Riakporhe would take it. So ratings for him to take in it. And for Deion, because I didn't, 3 weeks, it was less than 3 weeks really. Less than 3 weeks is hardly enough time to prepare for Richard Riakporhe as well. So, but Richard was preparing for a southpaw, and Deion was preparing for Mikael Lawal, a big figure with a big right hand. So there are similarities.
It's a fight that does actually make quite a lot of sense, really. Riakporhe and Mikael both have that huge knockout power that Jumah was having to be aware of. Yeah. As you said, Turchi was southpaw, Jumah's now southpaw, both undefeated, both from London, 2 top cruiserweights domestically. It's a fight that literally out of nowhere. I remember you said it to me last week just on WhatsApp before it even got announced, and I thought, like, that's a really, really good fight.
Yeah. Do you want to know what's crazy as well? Last summer, I went up to Loughborough to do something with Richard, and when we were driving, I said to him, the fight I always wanted to see. At the time, Deion didn't even have a license. Yeah. Because he had the eye injury that he was coming back from. I said the fight I always wanted to see was you and Deion, clash of styles. Obviously, I've known Deion for, I've said it before, years and years. So I know that he's always wanted to fight Richard. Richard had made comments about him on Sky, I think it was, a few years ago, with Spencer Fearon. So there was a bit of needle. They've sparred. Like there is a story there. I mean, it's not a huge story, but there's background. They know each other. They've been in the room with each other. They've been around each other. They've almost fought before. I'm sure Richard was I'm sure Deion maybe was mandatory for the British when Riakporhe had it, but Riakporhe went a different route. So it's almost happened, and now it's happening out of nowhere, and it's a good fight. It's like, I was gonna say boxer versus brawler, but it's not, because Deion's not a pure boxer, and Riakporhe's not a pure brawler anymore.
Look, I think it's just a brilliant fight when it comes down to it. I think if you're into your trade boxing, if you're into your domestic boxing, you know how much of a threat Deion Jumah is.
Yeah.
You know how tried and tested Richard Riakporhe is. Yeah. Like when you look at Richard's opponents, it went at a domestic level, like at the top of the scene, Sam Hyde.
Yeah.
Tough night. Sam Hyde, Tommy McCarthy, Chris Billam-Smith, Jack Massey.
Yeah.
That's 4 in a row. And then
that's domestic wars. Yeah. None of those are easy fights.
No, like that is a ridiculous run.
I was at the Billam-Smith fight. And I remember actually thinking going into this fight that if I was, if I had a gun to my head and I had to pick a winner, I might have leaned towards Billam-Smith. And I know that fight was close, but Billam-Smith at the time had more experience. And he's a decent boxer. Let's have it right. Billam-Smith's good. And none of those fights, the Sam Hyde fight, all of them, none of them were easy fights. They're all tough. Yeah. Jack Massey, I felt like he was in control. But Jack Massey kept showing very good heart to kind of get himself back into the fight.
Right.
And it's, those are the fights that people want to see. And, we can talk about, I mean, it was a very good win against Duradola, but he probably didn't get as much credit as people would have fought for a win like that.
Yeah.
Same with Twardowski, who obviously was like a comeback fight after 22 months. But the 4 before that, you gain ridiculous credibility.
Oh yeah.
Ridiculous. That's statement stuff. And Deion is one of those. He is one of those fighters where you beat him and the rest of the boxing world actually perk up and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because they know what he is. The fans might not know, but boxing's a small fraternity and there's only so many players in the sport. Everyone knows each other. So you beat someone like that, I think you get... I mean, you're beginning to see it even on YouTube. People are saying this is a great fight.
Yeah.
So people know it's a good fight. So the winner gets like huge rewards. For Richard, it is a... you move on into in world title rankings, and all of a sudden your path is clearer. You've got a chapter closed, because it's a mini chapter.
I think after that is the domestic scene absolutely wrapped up for Richard. I think, as you said, he's looking towards world titles as it is. This is almost a bit of a step down to an extent.
Well,
not necessarily.
Maybe not a step down, but it's definitely a step back.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think that is a step back.
It's just a step off course. Like when he was looking at international fighters that had either an IBF ranking or a WBC ranking or whatever it may have been, to now sort of stepping down to an extent to be fighting someone domestically, but it's still a huge challenge, and it's something that, if anything, is probably going to benefit him more, because Deion is a respected name within boxing, and it's another name that he ticks off on that domestic scene, and it just sort of asserts himself there.
I think it gets you back in world championship mode as well, because I'm not sure how much Twardowski and Duradola prepare you for world championship shots. Now, we know who the belt holders are at Cruiser. I actually back Richard to beat a lot of them. I do think Bradis is very good.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that Riakporhe could do him.
Yeah.
And I also feel like that with Mugabu.
I feel like Okoli would beat Bradis, and Okoli and Richard are kind of similar in terms of size and levers. Both heavy punchers. I think Okoli's a little bit more unorthodox in his approach and is a little bit more awkward to deal with.
He's awkward.
But I think, those two would sort of rise to the top. And as we mentioned last week, if there was a unification fight between those two, that would be massive.
It would be great. But I just have a feeling Okoli doesn't stay. He's not sticking around.
He's got that Bradis fight in him.
By the way. But then again, Riakporhe, I'm not sure how much longer he stays at Cruiser.
He'll probably go up.
He would try and win a world title, and then he might try and unify. And then, it's not like he's got loads of body fat on him. Like he probably has to work quite hard to make 90 kg. So that would be interesting. But obviously, Deion will try and derail that and jump in the hot seat, immediately. Sky Sports is like the thing that all boxers dream of. If you're totally honest, you want a headline on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
I think part of my thinking in why I say I didn't expect Riakporhe to take that fight was because he is the name, and he is
100%.
He is the one that we're everyone gets behind. Boxers are getting behind. Sky Sports getting behind. He's a bit of a poster boy.
Yeah.
And I thought it's too dangerous of a fight. However, who else do you get on short notice?
Well, that is the thing. That's why it's props to both men, because they saved each other's show, and Riakporhe almost saved his own show as well. He spoke about wanting to headline at Wembley. He spoke about, he wants to be this front runner, A, for British boxing, B, on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
If he didn't take that fight, I think they were struggling for opponents at such late notice.
Maybe Luke Watkins would have been in the mix, but I just wonder if that would have been enough time to prepare.
Look, I think we spoke about it being a cruiserweight card, but now it's become the main event is now the strongest thing there.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we said, props to both guys.
What do you expect this fight to look like? Because
I think
we've seen it in the last couple of fights since Riakporhe's teamed up with Angel Hernandez. We are seeing a more cerebral side to him, a fighter that thinks more, is more patient, waits. Mm-hmm. But once he has you hurt, if he has you hurt, because he didn't get really a huge opportunity against Podolski, even though he dropped him late.
Yeah.
Once he gets you hurt and he gets in his rhythm, then he goes after you. And then you have Deion, who will kind of try and pick away and box you and frustrate you, and he's got tricks, and try and be that. I wonder what that looks like if they both try and box.
I think Deion, coming with a bit of a point to prove, it's his opportunity at really making a name for himself, sticking in that southpaw stance as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries and takes centre ring, tries to apply the pressure, tries to find the right angles. He's a shorter guy as well, so he'll be working his way on the inside. He knows Richard likes to take not take any rounds not that he takes it slow. He will just use those early rounds to just sort of download the information, figure you out and stuff.
But that's what I've got a feeling that's what Richard will try and do. But in my head, I'm thinking someone here has to throw a curveball. Mm-hmm. Someone has to. I'm surely.
Yeah.
Because from what we've seen of Richard recently, he will not necessarily take centre ring, and he'll just have a look. But maybe that's because he's fighting opponents who he knows he's got a better skill set than. He knows he's got potentially range, power, whatever it is. He's got a lot on them.
Yeah.
So he'll have a look, and then he'll punch when he decides he wants to punch, and put pressure on when he decides he wants to put pressure on. Mm-hmm. But against someone like Deion, I wonder if he'd be tempted to take centre.
Look, I think against an orthodox fighter, 100%. I'm just going through. I'm just clicking on every single name that Riakporhe's fought, and not a single one of them are southpaws. Oh no, one of them, when he was in his third fight, was a southpaw.
I never really trust box rep when it comes to southpaw. I've seen so many people that are orthodox that are not. But
we know the big domestic guys that you fought: Sam Hyde, Tommy McCarthy, Chris Smith, Jack Massey, Twardowski, Juradola. His last 6 fights, as a minimum, that are all top level fighters. They're all orthodox fighters.
Yeah. And
we see the trouble that southpaws can cause if you either rush yourself, if you leave yourself open.
Yeah.
We see what happened at the weekend with Leewood getting dropped by Michael Conlon.
I haven't watched it yet, but
so
I've seen the clips.
It's almost an identical knockdown to Luke Campbell versus Ryan Garcia.
Okay.
Feints low and just comes straight down the middle with that left hand. I think if you leave yourself open and you're maybe not used to fighting southpaws, obviously we know he's been training for southpaws this camp, but if you're not used to that, southpaws can cause really so many problems.
Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
So you try and be patient, but there's always been less southpaws than there has orthodox fighters, so they automatically know how to fight orthodox fighters for some reason.
Yeah.
And they can start picking you off, and it takes you a while to get in your rhythm and work out what's going on. So you don't punch often, and you find yourself getting punched. Mm-hmm. And you punch often, and sometimes you find yourself getting countered.
Yeah.
I think the feet are so
100%.
important in this fight. I think if you're Jumah and you believe that you have the better boxing ability, you just want to get on the outside and try and get your left hand going down the pipe and all of that. If you're Riakporhe, I think you want to try and create front foot pressure. This is why I would. I'm not Angel Hernandez, and I've never coached anyone. Oh, Angel Fernandez, sorry.
Angel Hernandez was a footballer when he was something, I think. Hernandez.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
So.
I personally think if you take the front foot, but leave the distance, because he is getting better at controlling that distance. If you can do that on the front foot, then you can make life difficult for Deion.
100%.
But it's risky.
It's
because
very risky.
You're potentially
leaving
you
yourself
got to punch
open
with those feet.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And you can leave yourself open and all of that. Look, the good thing about Richard is he does have big power that either does or can get him out of trouble.
Yeah, and gains the respect as well.
Gains respect.
That's one of the main things.
The thing is, if you don't get respect early, sometimes down the stretch you can find that your heart gets broken a little bit, or maybe your confidence starts to sap because for the last 16 minutes you've been trying to land your right hand, you can't. So there's so many ways this could go, and I'm gonna rerun it in my head every day until we get there.
For me, I think I can see Riakporhe getting a stoppage. I think his distance control, especially now recently where he's becoming smarter with his punching, he'll either be able to walk Jumah onto a shot. We know he carries that power throughout all the rounds. He's not someone that gasses at all. He's got a good engine.
Smart money says Riakporhe stoppage or Deion points.
Yes, but then again, I could see Riakporhe just he's a brilliant boxer now as well. But could be points, but no, agreed. I think probably
As in that, it's who gets their fight.
Yeah,
essentially.
If just a completely separate question, just talking about southpaws, you're an orthodox fighter, right?
Yeah.
If you could go back in time before you'd ever thrown a punch and choose, would you choose to be a southpaw fighter? Because I probably would, because they just cause. If you fight another southpaw, it always makes for a sick fight.
I preferred fighting southpaws.
Yeah, same. I broke my wrist. Fighting southpaws.
Fighting against southpaws.
Right. Did you?
Yeah.
You just had it all. You haven't figured out because.
Yeah, or maybe I was pretty tall for light heavy.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would try and be cerebral, but I would proper try and shoot that right hand straight down the pipe.
Yeah.
So I would wait. I would try and catch. When they jab, I would try and catch their left hand and then shoot straight down the pipe. But if I was fighting against a southpaw version of myself, then he'd want me to do that.
Yeah,
and then I would fall short. He'll clip me. Yeah. And then but I like the chess match of it. Yeah. So maybe knowing that there's more southpaws, orthodox fighters out there, I might prefer to be
I love southpaw fighters. I just watching them either
step
on the front.
It's like left-footed footballers as well. There is something about them, innit? There's just
their style is just they just seem to. I guess it's a different style of boxing when you're fighting an orthodox fighter because you have to pick different angles. You have to move certain ways. So I would probably go if I could. Obviously, the ultimate is to be a switch hitter and be able to work off both feet. Mate, but
I always think to myself, how do they even remember?
Yeah.
What stance they're in and where they because it's just danger. Yeah. You've put yourself back in a certain
But as much as you're open to danger, you're causing so many questions for the opponent, opposition fighter to deal with. That you can just throw them off their game plan, innit?
Like Kid Galahad.
Yeah.
He must be a nightmare to fight. Obviously, I know he lost against Martinez, but he must be an absolute nightmare to fight because you're trying to get him here, and just as you're figuring out, he's now gone the other stance, and it's too many looks.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. That's as we said before. It's just a fight that's come out of nowhere, and it's just an absolute ridiculous domestic fight that kicks off March off the back of a massive April that was all domestic fights as well.
February.
February.
We've got a big April coming anyway.
We've got a big April coming. Moving down the card, that was obviously a combination of what was the main event and the co-main event that then fused together. Now filling in for the co-main event is Dan Azeez, our latest signing. He has now got an opponent that you're very familiar with.
Mate, what's going on? It's like the whole of Dell Youth is the B-side on this card. It's crazy.
And now Zach Chelly is on the
yes,
card.
Yes, exactly. It's nuts. But he's the A-side.
He's the A-side, yeah. Matthew Tinker.
Matthew Tinker, and there is history. Has that been announced?
That's been announced.
Thank God. Matthew Tinker is unbeaten. He's from Del Youth, but he's from Ireland, and he fights out of New York at the moment. And when I was there the other day, I was actually meant to meet him. I was with Ben. So when I saw Matthew Tinker, I was like, Matthew Tinker?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it. I've done a lot of rounds with Tinker.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp. Super sharp. Now, there is a backstory here.
There is a story there, isn't there?
Has Dan said it already?
Yeah, Dan has, yeah.
Has he said it, yeah?
Yeah.
Apparently, they have sparred. I haven't heard this from Matthew. I've only heard it from Dan. That Matthew absolutely killed him in sparring.
How long ago was this?
It could have been years ago.
Are we talking like amateur days or are we talking...
I would imagine so.
Right.
But you never know. And do you know what's crazy? Matthew is 8-0 with 6 KOs.
Yep.
But the one thing I always remembered about him when I was sparring him is... I've got a decent chin.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, he can ping you. He keeps pinging you. But I didn't feel like he was a big puncher.
Right.
So I wonder, I mean, look, we're going back 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would have probably done my last round.
Same weight division though, still at light heavy.
Yeah, still at light heavy.
Like it's interesting, just quickly when you mentioned him not being a massive puncher, but his knockouts have come. His very first fight, round 1 knockout. Second fight, round 1 knockout. Third fight, round 1. Fourth fight, round 2. What's that? Fifth fight, round 1, and then sixth fight, round 2. So he's getting these stop when he does get them. Either goes points or he's just blasting them out of there straight away.
But that's because he can pepper you. He's like pepper, like as in, you won't even know what's happened. It is actually he's fast, man. He's sharp. He moves well.
Another southpaw.
He's southpaw and he's tough. But as an amateur, and obviously, look, Matthew would batter the version of him 8 years ago.
Got you.
That's just
of course.
So the guy I was sparring probably isn't even Matthew Tinker anymore. You have no idea. He's just the same human. He's now a puncher, but trust me when I say I didn't remember him. I didn't remember feeling like he was a puncher.
Yeah.
He can now punch, but Dan Azeez is a big, powerful boy.
Look, Dan Azeez is...
And I'm interested to see what this fight looks like, especially given... I want to know when the spar happened between Dan and Matthew.
Yeah.
And
we'll ask Dan when we get him on. We'll ask him.
We're going to get him on. We're going to get him on and we're going to ask him. Interesting to see how that... when that was, how it was, and what he makes of it. Because it's amazing that Dan almost... In an interview I saw, he almost looked like he wanted it to be Matthew than the other option that because it intrigued him. He liked the idea of it, and you know, I'm not sure. I remember being battered once in sparring. I think Matthew must have been there. In fact, you know what? I know I got battered in my soul. To the outside world, it might not have looked like I got battered, but I knew I couldn't really step on the gas here. And when you feel like that sometimes, I don't ever want to see that fella again. I don't want to see him again.
Yeah.
I never want to see him again.
Yeah.
But the idea of fighting somebody that's definitely got the better of you in sparring.
This is where the ego's coming.
Scary.
But it's like
Dan is
I'm
scary
coming
for
back
that.
to prove my.
Dan is scary for that.
It's probably something in his head that he's like, nah, do you know what? I need to go and right this wrong.
Yeah.
And it shows he's not scared.
Yeah.
Look, Dan Azeez is one of my favourite fighters right now. I'm so excited to see him back in the ring.
Here's the question, I'll tell you what it comes down to. Matthew sharp and is maybe now a puncher. I haven't seen any of the opposition. I've seen the clips. I follow him on Instagram, all of that. Yeah. But we're not sure what the opposition was made of. Dan Azeez, I wonder if you can keep him off you for 10 or 12 rounds.
I don't think you can.
You need to get some serious respect out of him.
Yeah.
If you want that, because the way I saw him walk down Jose Burton and dispatch of him, he looked too strong.
Yeah.
Do you know what he looked like? Do you remember when Chavez Jr. first burst onto the scene before everyone decided, no, you're nothing like your dad?
Yeah.
Who fought him? It might have been Murray or maybe Mac. Oh, get the record up. Someone fought him, and they was just like, it was almost as if every time I hit him, he got stronger. And he grew and grew and grew and just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's what that fight looked like against Jose Burton. It looked like the more success that Burton was having, it was almost strengthening Dan Azeez.
Yeah.
And by the time the stoppage came, it was like writing was on the wall. Did he stop Andy Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Andy Lee that said it. Andy Lee was just like, it's just like I was hitting him and it seemed like every shot I landed made him stronger.
It's crazy. Like the Dan Azeez Jose Burton fight was meant to be like very competitive. People were like, who's going to win this? What way is it going to go? And then Dan Azeez just made such light work of it. It's crazy.
He looked too strong. Just looked too strong. Jose Burton didn't look great at the weight, to be fair. He looked like he really struggled to make that weight, but Dan looked good, man. That's going to be a very, very good fight.
Yeah.
And then we got Adam Azim.
Adam Azim is stepping up against Connor Marsden. Connor Marsden is the current Southern Area champion.
That's crazy.
So, Adam Azim, in his third fight at 19 years old, is already stepping up to Southern Area level.
It's good. It's good, man. This is, when you want to move fast, this is how you do it. I mean, you can move super duper Lomachenko fast, but this is fast.
There's moving irrationally fast.
Yeah.
And then there's moving like at the right pace, and
because the thing is, once you pick up titles, you're on to the next. It's go time. Yeah, you see what I'm saying. So he will then be looking at the English title.
Yeah,
and then he'll then be looking at the British. He'll probably have the British inside 10.
Yeah. You look, that's exactly what Dan Azeez done. Southern Area, English, British, and then you've done the rounds with the best on the domestic scene. Yeah. You're ready to start stepping up. Be interesting to see what pace Dan Azeez moves at now.
Well,
whether he keeps it going. He's just won the British. Yeah, this is his first defence. So whether the next thing is European, and then I'm not a massive fan of the intercontinentals and the internationals and stuff. They don't do too much apart from sort of they get your world ranking obviously and stuff.
Yeah, they get something.
But does he want to just? We spoke about the light heavyweight scene last week. He's right up there with the best in the world.
We'll ask him. We'll ask him. You may as well. But if I was Dan and I'm 32,
it's go time.
Wait, I am Dan. I'm 32. Wait, like if hold on, what's going on? If I was him at this stage in his career, and I had his body, and understood where I am in terms of my prime, I would want to kick on. I would really want to kick on. That is his, coming out win. And I remember Dan Azeez from years ago. I think first time I actually really took notice of him was at a public workout in South Bank. I think it was. I forgot who was fighting, but it was another domestic duster. On a matchroom card, and that was the first time I remember thinking to myself, "Oh yeah, no, he can fight." But at that point, no one knows who's gonna win certain bouts because it's just domestic boxing. He's now arrived and on the big scene with the top of the domestic light heavyweights, and it's time to start seeing them fight each other.
Yeah, he reminds me so much of Marvin Hagler.
Yeah,
in his style.
No,
in the shorts.
Yes, it's the shorts.
It's the shorts that I want to ask him. Like, just want to ask him who his favorite fighter is, and I would put money on it being Hagler.
Yeah,
the shorts are the thing that gave it away first.
Yeah.
But then stylistically, the way he lunged with his punches and moves, I can just see a lot of similar mannerisms there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably why I rate him so much as well. Like Hagler was one of my favorite fighters.
Amazing fight.
It was actually, we didn't speak about it on the last pod. I think it was in between filming last week's and this week's. It was a year ago, whenever it was Sunday or Saturday that he passed away. But yeah, he was literally one of my all-time favorite fighters.
Crazy.
Like he was probably my favorite out of the Four Kings as well.
Yeah.
I think when it comes down to it,
beast. I mean, obviously on the card as well, you have Chris Kongo, you've got Jamie Takivi, you've got everyone who's going to be coming back. Kongo's coming back, and he wants to kick on now. Takivi is his debut. He's going to want to put in a good performance.
Frazer Clarke is off the card.
Has that been announced? I'm sure I saw a tweet.
Well, no, it's not been announced. We'll either keep this in, and you'll therefore know that it's off.
I'm sure he knows. I'm sure I saw a tweet from him this morning.
Did he say? Yeah.
Frazer Clarke's out.
Yeah, he's had surgery, so I don't know how long he's out for.
I'm not sure if he said that
right, well,
we'll work out what. Yeah, we'll work out what we're allowed to say.
If it's in, guys, we're allowed to say it. But yeah, he's had surgery, so he'll be out for a little while. But yeah, speedy recoveries, and we'll see what happens with that.
Definitely.
But yeah, we will do a full breakdown. Well, I say a full breakdown.
Yeah,
we kind of done it, but whatever opponents haven't been decided, Caroline's going to be taking a step up.
Yeah.
I'm sure Congo's going to be fighting a decent domestic name probably. But yeah, we will do a full breakdown of that next week.
What's next?
Newcastle, actually, we got one addition. Brad Ray's on the card.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I like Brad.
He's going back up to Newcastle. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. At 23, he's the youngest in that middleweight division by like a good couple of years, and he's right up there.
And he wants to be busy.
Yeah, he wants to be busy. I mean, we speak about all these guys recently. Even Riakporhe. This is Riakporhe's third fight in 6 months.
Yeah,
he went from like a 2-year layoff where arguably lost a bit of momentum there, but he's going about it the right way. Brad Ray's the same.
You have to be. You know, in my opinion, fighting 2-3 times a year
is a minimum, really.
That's for the tippity top. The people that are making millions, box office fighters, people who are always tied up in negotiations, have contracts here and there, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
If you are on your way up and you're aspiring to get there, I think you've got to be as active as you can possibly be.
100%.
I think you want to get out, 5 or more times a year.
Look, back in the day, even I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a completely different sport nowadays. The commercial side of it is, and the legalities and stuff, just lengthen fight making by months and months and weeks and whatever it is. But back in the day, champions were fighting every other week, a couple of times a month. If you get a knockout, boom. The only thing that would stop you is an injury. But even that, you'd probably fight through the injury 9 times out of 10 as well. It was just a different mentality. Obviously now you've got sponsors and you've got to protect yourself. And there's longevity and there's science that's gone into it now. So. There is a lot more.
But ultimately, early on in your career, you want to be as active as possible.
When you're in that grind mode.
It's going to slow down.
Yeah.
It has to slow down. And when you're in the position where you can almost sneak on shows, and you might not be the top, the top of the bill or second or even third, but you could just get momentum and you've got to learn opponents and learn how to navigate your way through this fight game. It's invaluable to get as many fights in per year as possible. Especially
nowadays with social media and broadcast exposure and stuff, especially fighters fighting on Sky.
Yeah.
If you can be regularly on them cards, regularly putting in decent performances, getting a couple knockouts here and there. Mikael Lawal's knockout against...
how many times has that been seen?
What was the guy's name? I can't even remember, but that was trending like number 10 in the world on YouTube or number 15 for like a day or two. If nowadays, if you get a big win, you can elevate your career through months and months and months and months of slow growth in one night. You see Jack Catchell as an example.
Yeah.
Stock goes through the roof.
Yeah.
So I think if you can stay active and you can really, make the most of these opportunities, you can become a star in. You can go 0 to 100, not necessarily 0, but you can fast forward your career.
In the news.
In the news. Where do you want to start? Amir Khan? Amir Khan said he's going to fight, or Ben has actually said that Amir Khan is going to fight on whether it's the Kell Brook rematch, whether it's another fight. Ben gets the impression that Amir is staying on, basically. He's staying in the sport. What do you make of that?
I don't know what I make of it. He's the only one that knows whatever happened on that night in terms of if he has any more left in him.
He's the one that's saying that he had the shoulder injury. He's saying that the camp didn't go great. He had trouble with the actual people and with the length of time, and there were loads of anomalies in it. So as you said, only he knows if it's right for him. I was even skeptical about Kell staying in the sport for too much longer because every dog has its day, and you don't want them. It's for someone like Amir, it's like, who do you actually fight? Because you're not going to fight a low-level domestic fighter because that's just obviously A, not got the money, and B, not going to get you up for the fight. He's 147, so he's welterweight.
I would never worry about. I wouldn't worry about Khan because Khan knows where the money is. If he fights again, it's for big money.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. He could even be saying that he's fighting on because just saying that can get you big money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If
Just-
for example,
just
step
sort of,
asides or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, he's still got an amount of time to trigger that contract.
He's sort of just casting the net out.
That's it. He might be seeing people's reaction, but ultimately he is the only person that will know if he's gonna fight on, and why he's gonna fight on. Kell Brook, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
For most people except for me.
Okay.
I believe he should fight on.
Okay.
I think, and people have disagreed with me, but I think that is the best Kell Brook performance I've seen. However, I will couple that up with that's probably the least Amir Khan I've seen Amir Khan.
Yeah.
So I will marry the two together. Yeah. However, when you look at Kell Brook's crowning moments, his crowning moment.
Sean Porter in the States. Amir Khan in Manchester.
The win was magnificent, yeah? And it has aged brilliantly because of what Sean Porter's gone on to achieve. However, nobody would really have cried robbery if Sean Porter got the decision that day.
Mm-hmm.
So, although he got the decision and it was a huge achievement and, he went to the States and did it, in terms of performance, it was back and forth. I haven't seen Kell Brook in complete control like that for a long time. I'll be honest. There's usually an argument, even with Carson Jones as an argument. Yeah. He hasn't dominated like that for ages. But Senchenko, there was a bit of an argument.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie Gavin, he controlled that, but even that, but that was him at his brutal best. Now, it's hard to see how much you got left when you're fighting against someone who is not just not in their prime. Yeah. But after a win like that, I'm just thinking of how much bigger that makes Kell Brook. So if I'm Kell Brook and I've just beat someone like that, I'm not quitting because I think I've got more in the tank. And I've spent years chasing the guy that I just beat. And maybe I've wasted a lot of money.
But you've done it now. You've done it.
I've done it. But guess what? Now I'm the money.
True. But
and now everyone at welterweight, you saw them all dotted around the ring.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to fight Kell Brook. So I think, as much as this is a sport, it's a business. You retired now, yes, it's romantic, but you're leaving so much money on the table that I just don't think it's wise.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth.
He
Is
looked
all I'm
healthy.
going to say.
He looked healthy.
He looked healthy.
He's lost to the three pound for pound number ones at the time, in my opinion. Spence, Crawford, Triple G.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't have ever have been in the ring with him.
Yeah.
That don't mean he's done. And that performance don't say he's done.
I hear that, yeah. But I just wonder if, going to what Ben has said in a recent interview, the names that he listed for Kell Brook are Chris Eubank Jr. at presumably a catchweight, because I don't think Kell should go up to 160, yeah?
158.
But I don't think that would really happen, because I don't think Eubank goes down. His ego's too big to go down in weight.
I think it happens.
I would go out and I'd actually... We'll do a bet, but I don't think it happens. I think Chris's ego is too big.
Give me the one where you think does happen.
Well, the one I would make, and I said it the other week, is Keith Thurman. But I've just seen another name that he said. So the names in order that Ben said were Chris Eubank Jr., as we just mentioned. Conor Benn. I don't think he should take that. Garcia. I'm assuming he means
Danny.
Yeah.
Or Mikey. It
could be
Mikey,
either.
Yeah. I think it could be Danny though.
Probably Danny. Keith Thurman.
Yeah.
Who is the one I would give him? Or he said even Josh Taylor might be an option moving up.
That's
not a bad fight. Josh Taylor, Kell Brook at 147 isn't a bad fight.
It's not a bad fight, but I think you need to grow it. I don't think that's next. Now,
it could be the perfect time though, because they've both just come off top of the bill, massive domestic Sky shows.
All right, cool. For Kell, it might make a bit of sense. For Josh Taylor, do you take that fight? You're unbeaten. You've just seen Kell Brook look great. And you were there.
I think he takes it. I think he would take that.
Was Josh Taylor there? No, Josh Taylor wasn't there.
Probably not. A week before the fight, innit?
But Kell was at the Josh Taylor fight.
Yeah.
He don't look. When I spoke to him and I mentioned Eubank, there was a glimmer in his eye, almost like he wanted it.
There probably is, yeah, because when you think about the Sky relationship, when you think about numbers, when you think about what really makes sense, Conor Benn. Look, I don't know where Kell stays, but let's presume he stays with Boxer, he stays with Ben. Yeah. They're having a good working relationship right now. Conor Benn doesn't happen, yeah? Garcia, depending on either one, probably doesn't happen. Yeah, it could happen, but the most likely one out of that list is Eubank Jr. because he's on Sky. You've got that relationship there.
If I had to pick, if I'm advising Kell,
yeah,
I would pick either I would pick either Thurman, because Thurman's a big enough name in the States and he's not at his best.
Yeah.
And you can look good against him and win. However, over here, it might not be as big as it would. But worldwide, that has a decent enough appeal. Yeah. Eubank, that hits.
Yeah.
That hits here, and I think that hits everywhere because there's a bit of a, like, Kell has people behind him. Like, a lot of people really like Kell.
Yeah.
And on the contrary to that, a lot of people actually dislike Chris, or they just think he's got, that ego. Even though they are beginning to come round, but because of that, it will always, you can imagine who's going to play the villain and who's going to play.
Of course.
Exactly. I think that has big appeal. I would go one of those two. I probably wouldn't. Danny Garcia is a decent enough fight, and I think Kell could beat him. But I like Danny Garcia, and he's always a tough man. Only person I've seen beat him well is Errol Spence.
Yeah.
But I think stylistically something like that could work for Kell. I don't know. He's got all the options, and this is what I mean. You don't get to this stage of your career have all these, because he didn't have all these options 8 months ago.
He's got UK options. I don't know how much leverage he has in the US. I'm trying to find out his world rankings right now.
Kell Brook, yeah.
Can he go for a title? Like
Furman would love to fight him, and so would Danny.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, 100%. I mean leverage in terms of like the titles. I'm talking.
I don't think this next fight. I don't think the next one's about titles.
Maybe not, but I'm just hypothetically. Does he have enough leverage? And you look for money. Look at
any danger of getting near the mic.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I was getting engrossed into the rankings. Hang on. Is he even ranked in the top? He's not top 15. Mr. Florian Mark is number 13.
I mean, look, he should be in there. Yeah, if we're being totally honest. However,
Amir Khan.
Look at some of the names above him, though.
I know.
There's some big names, but look at that. Yeah. Now, Keith Thurman still somehow is ranked at number 3.
Yeah. Keith Thurman number 3.
And Danny Garcia is number 5.
Amir Khan at 11. Oh no, Kell Brook number 13. There you go.
Yeah. So if you are Kell Brook, you gain ranking. Look, at this point in my career, and if I'm Kell Brook and I've been boxing since 9 years old or whatever it is, I'm finally in a position where I'm the boss, and I have the options, and everyone wants to fight me because I've just did massive pay-per-view numbers, sold out arenas, the biggest win of my career. So everyone wants to fight him because they're still hoping that he's slightly vulnerable or slightly shot. If I'm him, this is not where I walk away. This is where I pick whatever option I want, and I'm chasing the money and profile. Whatever brings me the best reward, monetarily and ranking-wise and recognition-wise, that's the one I take.
I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Ugas, That would be a good fight.
It's a good fight.
That would be a big fight. But
it's not big money.
Is it not?
I don't think Ugas is big money. The big money's in Eubank.
Yeah. When it's all said and done, yeah, you are correct. Because that can do pay-per-view in the UK
exactly.
as well.
Once do you know the problem is, yeah? Kell Brook, has he ever done pay-per-view before that? I'm not sure he has. As in him headlining a pay-per-view.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure what Sean Porter, obviously that was top of the bill, but as in I'm not sure. I hear it, that was on Sky here. Yeah. I wonder what that was in America, if that was pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But essentially, once you're pay-per-view, you can't just go back.
Yeah, you stay pay-per-view.
You've got to stay pay-per-view now. You've just done pay-per-view. There's no point fighting anyone who's not pay-per-view worthy. Yeah. This is what Mayweather did. This is why everyone complained about his resume after a certain point, because he only fought you if he felt you had numbers behind you, a country behind you, just something. So if I'm Kell Brook, the numbers make sense. I go after Eubank. Easy enough to make.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. See what happens. I'm sure this is going to unfold over the next couple of weeks.
What else has happened?
Let's see what happens. Well, let's interrupt this.
Is Dan here?
Dan's there.
Let's do it. Dan, talk to me, man. Late opponent, Matthew Tinker. There's a backstory. Tell me.
Yeah, man. He bashed me up in the amateurs a few years back, before I turned pro. So yeah, it's a good one. It's good. I'm gonna be there trying to, show him the pro games is different. And yeah, I'm sure he's trying to show me, trying to make it 2-0. But yeah, man.
Do you know what's crazy? Do you remember what year that was?
It might have been, it's maybe 2015, 2016.
Bro, so he was Del Youth then, yeah? Del Youth.
Yes.
So I was at Del Youth. I used to spar him every week.
Really?
Every week. Yeah? It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, no.
Because
it wasn't fun in the fight either.
No.
It wasn't fun in the fight either. Trust me. He was relentless and he's a good combination puncher.
Exactly. So it was 2s, 3s, 4s. As soon as I saw the name come up, I was like, what? It's like, no way, it's impossible. And he's in New York. Do you know what's crazy? I literally just said it on the pod as well. When you found out that was one of the 2 potential opponents, it almost seemed like you wanted it to be Matthew.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Because he's a good boxer. He's a good boxer. And I know he's been watching me. He's been watching my rise. Because we spoke before and he's like, yeah, no, well done, Dan. You're doing your thing and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, he's definitely been keeping an eye on me. And you know what? I want to return the favor for sure, definitely. And at the end of the day, if I want to get to where I want to get to, I have to beat the likes of Matthew Tinker. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And although on paper it might not look like, he's all that, but like you said, used to spar him.
He is.
Matthew, he's got a strong amateur pedigree. He was a top amateur when I used to box, and yeah, he's doing his thing now. So, and I think our styles will make for a very good fight because he's just, pressure.
Yeah.
He works in bunches. He throws hands, and he's a good boxer. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited and I'm very motivated as well. So that's why I didn't want to have someone that, I just maybe, even though I never overlook a opponent, but I just didn't want no dead fight. I know this guy, he's gonna keep me on my eye on a ball. So yeah,
it's one thing fighting you over 3-3s. It's another thing going down the stretch, and against Jose Alberto, you only seem to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Is that something that you're looking at with combining that with his style?
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is, when you look at someone like Matthew as well, I don't want to go in there thinking, and I never do this. I didn't even do it with the Hosea fight. I don't want to go in there thinking, yeah, I'm going to wear him down and, because he might have that relentless style for 12 rounds, then what? Yeah. So I got to be able to match it as well. Yeah. It's just, unfortunately for Jose on that, I was just stronger and that is my style. I do get better and better as the fight goes on. So I ain't overlooking him. We'll see. It is different. Three rounds is different from 12 rounds. So we'll see how he fares. You got to look at the mentality of someone like him as well. He's coming from overseas, Yeah. Like, he's basically saying, yeah, I banged you up in the amateurs. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bang you up again. Basically, no, that is what he's not even like, because I'm sure he only just got told recently.
Yeah.
So he's looking at me like, yeah, easy work, really and truly. Because if he really thought, I need a bit more time. So that's what's even more giving me that vim, like, all right, cool, no problem. Let's get this cracking. So I really want to show up and show out for sure.
You're probably part of what is the best division domestically in boxing right now. The light heavyweight division is just filled with top fighters. Yeah, so we've got Buatsi, Richards, Yard, Arthur, yourself, and the rest of them. Are we at that stage now where, like for a certain amount of time, you have to keep certain fighters away from each other for a while, just so that, they can grow and blossom and turn into what they're going to turn into? Are we now at a stage where everyone's beginning to want to fight each other?
Yeah, like all those names you mentioned, they don't come across to me as fighters who will duck or, maybe would rather go a different route. If it makes sense, they'll fight. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, we all know there's boxing, politics. We're all on different platforms and whatnot, but the more everyone keeps banging the drum, like heavyweight division is banging, the more obviously it's gonna resonate with these promoters, and they're gonna realize that, look, you know what, we need to make these fights happen. All those names you mentioned, we've all won the British title. So what next? What do we have to wait until we all win world titles? Nah, man. Look at Groves and James DeGirl. They fought at British level, and they both still went on to be world champions. Yeah. AJ and Dillian White. You know, AJ went on and won a world title. Dillian's just about to fight for a world title. Like, I don't think it's not about just let them blossom or whatnot. We're all in a 30 age group. Do you know what I mean? So, I think let's get the fights on, man. Get them cracking, man. You know, you win some, you lose some, but you bounce back. As long as we just keep fighting each other, it'll be an era where years, decades after we've hung them up, they'll look back. I remember back in the 2020s when them light heavyweights were fighting. Because I do it with Eubank, Ben, and Watson. I always look back at those eras. I always look back at the Hagler, Hearns, Duran, and Sugar Ray Leonard. When you've got a bunch of fighters, you need to make them all fight each other, because it's for the ages. Forget about us and our egos and the money and it. Bro, when we're gone and we're dust, people after that will be looking back at that. So if that don't mean nothing to you, then boy, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm about.
I mean, you've won the British title now, and once you do that, it's almost declaring a higher type of warfare. You know, you're now, you know, from here you're supposed to springboard and catapult up and go after Europeans and worlds. What do you want the next 12, 18 months to look like?
I'd like to get another title, preferably the Commonwealth. You know, obviously we know Yard is the holder of that. So whether he vacates, whether he stays and wants to defend, I'm all for it. But I definitely, that is a goal of mine, to be able to say, you was British and Commonwealth champion. Then maybe fight one of the domestic boys for a European. Do you know what I mean? Like the world titles are all, you know, it's all tied up at the moment. You got Bivol's a Russian, and he's fighting Canelo. Then you got Berbatiev, he's a Russian. So with what's going on with the war and stuff, we don't know who's going to be. So this is a time for us to just, you know, take center stage and just get to work. That's what I think anyway. But next 12 months, I'd like to at least fight one domestic guy. But at least one. Yeah, in the next year, at least one, or maybe if I could get two in. But obviously, I've got other aspirations as well. You know, me winning the British title, that was a big thing to me, because again, that goes down in the books. You know, even if I hung them up today, no one can't take my name from that. I was British champion, and it means a lot to me. So there's other things that I also want to do. But yeah, man, hopefully next 12 months, if we can get a good domestic dust up, I'll be happy. Headline somewhere.
Come on, it's coming. It's coming, definitely. Trust me. Cool. We won't keep you too long. Mace, anything else you want to ask? What does the next few days look like for you?
Oh, hell, man. Hell. Obviously, this is the last week of hard training. So, I just finished the sparring session. Then I've got strength and conditioning in the evening. But, you know, and also you're making weight and whatnot. So, it's not looking too good. But, hey, after the fight, we'll be smiling.
All right, Dan, it was a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in fight week, man. Good luck. All the best. You know, well, Dan is a G, you know.
He's such a good talker,
No, he just keeps it like...
He's just real. He is a bit like a throwback fighter, right? He would just fight anyone.
To understand the shorts, man.
Anytime, anywhere. The shorts, I mean, you see the Hagler picture in the background. What a fight. I mean, when he's talking about, let's forget the money and the protecting the O's, when it's all said and done, when we're in the dust and stuff, you know, it's about... It's legacy. So to hear someone like that talk so openly and be so hungry, and when he spoke about Matthew Tinker obviously rating his own chances, that's what gets Dan fired up. You know, it's what you want to hear. You don't want want fighters taking easy fights here and there, and you know, Dan at 32 is ready to step up now, really, isn't it? So
100%. Right, last thing to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
AJ. Usyk is unavailable.
It's looking like it. It
definitely looks like it. I can't see that happening anytime soon. Or even if everyone was able to come to, peace today. Yeah. I'm not sure if June 11th is. I'm just not sure. Nah. I'm just not sure.
No.
So it looks like he's gonna need an opponent. Now, there is a short list.
There's somewhat. I mean, there's names getting thrown about. I don't know. Look.
Well, the short list by AJ himself, according to Eddie Hearn, was something like Deontay Wilder,
Otto Wallin. There was another.
Ortiz, was he?
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, another southpaw. Yeah. Ortiz, but then the other names getting through. Well, actually, apparently Bryant Jennings, who was meant to be fighting Daniel Dubois, is now actually like pretty
front runner.
Look, we know when it's all said and done, names that are thrown around in the press aren't always.
It doesn't matter. Dates that are thrown around are never right.
Yeah.
Venues are never right. Everything.
Yeah.
Whatever gets thrown around first is almost guaranteed to never happen.
Yeah. The boxing public think they know everything, but even the people in the sport don't know what's going on.
We don't even know what half of our shows are gonna be until it goes to the wire. This is boxing. You can plan for it to a certain degree, and the rest of it you just have to ride the wave. That's it. Who would you fight if you were AJ? And does it depend on if you think you fight Usyk at all?
Look, the money and the bragging rights and the status is against Deontay Wilder. Although he's just lost and he got beat
That's the one I would not take.
No, but that's the one you're taking if you're trying to
I think that's the one you take if you catch wind that the Usyk fight will never happen.
Yes, fine.
So I'm saying if you look, Otto Wallin fought on one of our cards.
Otto Wallin just come off a fight against Kamil Sokolovsky.
In Cardiff. First on the card.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's an AJ type. I think AJ would only receive criticism.
That's what I'm saying. I think
that fight. Now, he might be a decent kind of southpaw warm-up for Usyk. So it does actually make a little bit of sense. But because there's such a drop in level, I think AJ will leave himself open to so much criticism that it might not be worth it.
But that could also be a banana skin because Otto Wallin gave Tyson Fury his hardest night. He was the one that took him to points, got cut in his eye, really sort of applied the pressure and was nicking some of the rounds against Tyson Fury.
I wonder though, is that a unicorn fight? Is that just the one? I mean, he's only had one loss and it is the Tyson Fury. So you can't, he's not, like, it will never be as low as people think, you know? But in terms of recognition, I mean, Otto Wallin could actually be a decent learning fight. But would you, if you're AJ, knowing the profile you've got, would you take the slightly riskier version in Ortiz if Ortiz was available? Or is Ortiz too much of a set? Now here's the thing with taking touch-up fights. Sometimes they can lure you into a false sense of security because you're not fighting somebody. Yes, it's the same stance, but you can probably go to 100 gyms and find someone the same stance. The problem is finding someone at that elite level. Usyk is an elite fighter. If you are preparing for Usyk in a tune-up fight, you gotta, if you're honest and you need a proper dress rehearsal, you want to go after someone who is elite level-ish. I've got a problem with tune-up fights like that because there's only two ways you can play them. But it would have to be Ortiz.
It would, and look, if you want,
but Ortiz don't fight like Usyk.
Yeah, no, like that. When you were saying you got to find someone like Usyk, you want to find a tricky southpaw and stuff. My head thinks you're gonna have to go to cruiserweight, and not to drop down, but
Mugabe.
Well, I don't know. Even that's not like there's no one that moves like Usyk at that level.
What about Joyce? I know he's not a southpaw or anything.
Joyce is up there. I would love to see that fight.
I'm seeing them go at it.
They had a little spat on socials. Look, it's a massive domestic fight. I'm never going to say no to a huge all British fight like that. But I don't think AJ takes that fight, and I don't think the politics between Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn again. I don't think that fight happens. Ortiz probably is maybe the most exciting fight because AJ and maybe has the most value there because you can go over to America. Yeah. You can sort of, it's just another box for AJ to tick. He's not got a win in the US yet, has he? He only went to went to US once. And it was Andy Ruiz. So he could go to the US.
Yeah, and the
get
thing
a win
is, AJ
there.
hasn't fought a southpaw since Charles Martin.
Yeah, and that was bad. That was literally like that was pathetic.
It was
pathetic.
Charles Martin. Who was Charles Martin was decent enough, but AJ just dispatched off him.
Yeah.
But he needs to fight somebody who. So in my opinion, even though Otto Wallen only has one loss, and he actually fought very well in that loss. That his loss is what he's known most for. Yeah. Let's have that right.
And in fairness to what wasn't the most,
you just look at the rest.
Yeah, but what wasn't the most exciting performance? It was the Sokolovsky fight. Was a tune-up fight after having literally a year off from fighting Dominic Brazil. And Sokolovsky is a good. We broke down the names he'd fought. Pretty much everyone in the domestic heavyweight scene. Yeah, he's just one of them guys that is just like will just fight. He's almost a journeyman. Well, he is pretty much a journeyman.
I mean, it was just one of those fights. I mean, we were obviously there ringside, and it seemed like nothing happened.
But I think stylistically, you have to go with Wallen. For the excitement, you would go Ortiz. And if you're not getting the Usyk fight, then you may as well go Wilder, because the money, it's the name, it's the status, it's the credibility, it's the excitement, it's everything. Yeah. And it's been a couple of years in the making.
I think and I'm sure I heard something like Wilder's gone to Peru or something. He's going to go and find.
Well, he done the whole ayahuasca. Probably watched some Joe Rogan podcasts and stuff. He's gone on a whole psychedelic.
Good show. Like, yeah. That's it. He's gone. Yeah, he's out here, man. He's having a good time right now.
Yeah, but I don't know if that fight realistically happens.
I'd agree. I mean, look, I think that's a fight that, regardless of who ends up where and what the psychedelics tell Wilder, and no matter what happens in AJ's career, I think Wilder versus AJ is a fight that will always have to happen for reasons that Dan Azeez said.
Yeah.
Legacy. We've always wanted it. The fans have always wanted it. You're not doing it for free. You're going to get paid handsomely for it. And I think you get loads of credibility for it. It's such an exciting fight. It's one of those fights that on paper, you just know, just blows up.
It's probably number 3 and 4 in the world, isn't it? And they're both the two without the titles that are right up there.
I like the fight. As in, they might not want to risk it till the very end, but it has to happen at some point.
I think if AJ knows he's not getting the Fury fight, at least anytime soon,
or the Usyk fight,
then it has to be Wilder, really. But yeah, that is going to be an interesting one. He'll obviously be fighting on Sky, so I would imagine we have some involvement within that. Obviously, it's Matchroom, but I'm not
sure if we will.
But I don't know if it's the same way when Eubank fights on.
It's different. That's a partnership.
Right. We don't get.
We're not getting.
We don't get no undercard. We don't get no tickets. No undercard slots. No undercard slots.
I mean, it's a broadcast deal, isn't it? Like, as in, it's not necessarily
right. But we're the exclusive promoters on Sky. So then does it become a co-pro, or is that not? Is AJ?
I'm not sure.
We'll find out.
We can hope.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
We can hope, but I just feel like. When it is Sky and Matchroom, which is what it has to be. Yeah. I would assume we're not in the picture. Right. We'll be there.
Yeah.
We're kicking around.
Hopefully.
But I doubt we're going to get him here on these mics.
Nah.
But yeah, either way, it's going to be exciting. I agree with you. I think he does stay on Sky. I think it's a good decision to stay on Sky as well. Yeah. And bada boom, we see what the future holds.
It's
been a long podcast again. Every time we try and get this down to 30 minutes, we're here an hour later.
Lots to talk about. There's just
happens, man.
Next week we will do a Fight Night London full breakdown when we'll have all the opponents. We'll maybe look back at some of the old. This is our 3rd time in Wembley now. Yeah. So maybe look back at some old fight highlights and stuff, and the best fights, best performances.
Do an even deeper breakdown into what the top couple of cards look like.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be more unfolding. So,
I guess that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This episode was brought to you by Boxing Boys NFT. See you next week. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff that you know you should be doing, and stay locked in because we're going to be dropping exclusive news on this podcast every week. Mouthpiece, the home of unfiltered boxing. This episode is